Hi,
Hello, hello.
how are you doing?
I'm doing just fine. It's so nice to see you again. It's been a
Yeah,
long.
yes, sir.
Wow, wow, wonderful, wonderful. Without further ado, I think we can start. We can start the podcast.
Sure.
Everybody, we have Anupam Sarkar today. Hi, Anupam. Thank you for joining in. Anupam is currently a design manager at IBM, and also a very long time friend of mine. After he, a little about Anupam that I can share over here. Uh, Anupam did his master's in design from IIT Hyderabad, where I also did my PhD from. So we know each other from that long. And Anupam and his whole class, all good friends of mine. They're all working in the IBMs and the bigger corporates out there today. And it's always been a pleasure to know him and his friends, everybody in that circle. In fact, Anupam happens to be an accomplished photographer. Uh, his his master's thesis work was a very interesting topic. I remember that. They were architectures of products made out of sugar. That was his idea. I think it was called sugar architectures, if I'm not mistaken. So very interesting, very different portrayal of sweets that we know of. So two of his works are extremely very close to my heart. One is a very different his very different take on sugar cubes and Nestle Cadbury Nutties, right?
Yeah,
So I still remember after his project, there were a lot of sweets available, so we all had a lot of them afterwards. So once again, thank you, Anupam, for coming in. It's been a long time. Glad to have you here.
thanks,
So,
thanks. Thanks for remembering also the project. It
oh
feels so
no, no,
good
no.
when remembering that. Okay.
No, that is one very different project I've ever witnessed in my life, and really happy to. It's still, it has stuck with me. So here, most of our listeners would be uh, towards the tech domain. We have students from tech over here, and we have students from design as well. We have students from the music school, the law school, as well as the business school here. So, however, the major topic of our discussion, or I want it to be around the junction of tech and design. So, one thing that I always keep telling my students over here is that, look, writing code is great, but today you have tools which will write code for you also. But however, if you do not understand the design underneath, the product or the service that you're trying to build, then the entire project is not, you have not completely imbibed the value of the entire project. That is what I tell people. So with that, I just want to ask you, as a design manager working at IBM right now. So I just want to start off with the question: what does a day in your life look like?
Yeah. So I think this is very interesting. Like as a design manager, there are a few things which I do continuously. Uh, to directly put it into words, first thing is I collaborate a lot with different stakeholders, starting from obviously engineering, project managers, and my designers. So my first reportees with whom I work, I have daily sync up with them. I talk to them, mentor them, and show the different path and processes. With the engineering team, I have daily discussions on how we are trying to implement and go ahead and implement the products phase by phase, wherever life cycle of the product we are. We do discuss based on that. And with the product management team, we try to take a hold of the life cycle, how we are impacting that life cycle, and what we are creating that impact in terms of numbers. So we take also a track on that. So more or less these are like three things what we do, but this includes process optimization, this includes governance of design, that how what processes we are doing, what are the impacts which are happening. So there are different chunks of it, but major part of the day is dedicated with the design and tech team both, where we sync with the tech team and we work with the design team to come up with the outcomes of design.
Okay, now that is a very precise answer. I really liked it, but I do have a couple of follow-up questions over here. Just to cater to some of our tech folks over here, I wanted to ask if, do you also get to have a say in the kind of frameworks the developers would be using? Like, let's say if you're designing a product in IBM, I mean, would you even go down to the level of saying, no, 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 we will not use this particular framework. I want to see this sort of framework in your code? Or do you go and say to the developer that, hey, dude, I mean, I think this particular framework suits the, visual language of our product better. Do you do all of that? Do you look into those things?
Very interesting question, and I think this is something where designers and the dev or the technology or engineers need to align with both. So what I started doing in my early career, I started understanding the technical frameworks, so that when I go to a tech team and say, this can improve my experience or performance, I have a say along with the design that this, I'm not seeing something in air. I have something which can be implemented, which is viable, and which has an impact in terms of money as well as tech. And then it makes more sense that, when I say, no, I don't need this, I need this in my design, and this is how we should do it. So like I generally give a lot of examples. So it is like, I want to reach to Mumbai, and I don't know how I should reach there. If I don't know how I
Right.
reach, I said, I want to reach there in one day. If you don't know through which logistics you are going to reach, through flight, through train, or through bus, or your own vehicle, you won't know what is the timeline, what is the cost, and what are the other things involved. So this is like that. Tech is that part of the design which will enable it.
So, I mean, so the sub follow-up question to that follow-up question would be, I do remember your bachelor's was from BIT Meshra, if I'm not
Yes.
mistaken. Yes. So you do have a tech background?
No, my
In some.
bachelor's, I won't say it's fully tech. I did my bachelor's in architecture, and which
Mm.
actually was a stepping stone for me to understand this logics better. Again,
Mm.
it brings me there that if I design a fancy building, so because it was architecture, and if I don't understand how it should, how the civil engineering should be, or how the construction should be, I had faced this in my during my early bachelor's, that we used to start design fancy buildings which is like almost in the air. And then when I started working in the field, I realized, I should know how. And this how or why, both of these questions actually I started getting into all these things, that why and how is happening for these, and this
Right.
become an imbibed practice within myself in whichever field I am doing. And now I also practice the same.
I mean, that is great because that directly aligns with the whole idea of design, right? I mean, design is asking those questions. So I guess you started getting into that track early on in your bachelor's, and it was only necessary that you do a master's in design when you look at it that way. Oh, great. I like that answer. Coming back to the frameworks and a day in the life of a design manager at IBM. So do you also get to involve in things like A/B testing of features and stuff like that? Yes.
Yes.
Oh,
So it's not only IBM. I think all the projects where I have been working. So it's A/B testing is one of the usability testings where we try to validate the design with the users, that whether they are fine with the A or B. Basically, that's what A/B testing is. And here so I personally, so every person, they have leadership styles. My style
mm,
is more aligning with tech, I would say, where we'll see how much viability or timeline the tech is taking, how much design I am so it's like my total is always 100. I have to compromise somewhere and make it in 100. So either my tech will be heavy or my design will be heavy, and then I will have to balance it out. And then
so please continue.
Whole A/B testing is based on that my A option is more design heavy, my B option might be more tech heavy, but I know something is more scalable and something might have the different impact. And then with the users we do that and then do A/B testing, and then we come up with the outcome, even task completion rate or things like that, which comes as an outcome from that.
Okay, so would there be scenarios, and now again, sub question to A/B testing here. So, would there be scenarios where, a particular option A, maybe not so scalable, but it gets more acceptance than option B? Does that happen often?
Yes, that is, I think, something, one of the challenges which we face. Sometime, when we are developing products, you see your end stakeholders or who are investing money in the business. They are trying to see is shorter goals, and they are trying to reduce the amount which is getting invested. But then I think as a designer or as a strategic stakeholder, we tell them. So earlier it was like a bit difficult. We have to tell them that this is something which will impact in a longer run, where today if you see 50 rupees as profit, and maybe in a longer run projectile it will give 5,000 rupees you as a profit, which you are not seeing. If you use this, then you have to do the changes which we bring as agile or some other frameworks. Those changes
Yes.
after doing this will cost you more than this.
Oh, okay. It is when you talked about A/B testing is that I realized that it could be the scalability. When you put scalability into picture, is that there could be a wickedness to the whole problem here, and that is your language, right? I mean, wicked problems are your language. All right, perfect. So, um, again, moving on from the daily life of a design manager at IBM, let's say, what would be a very pressing issue that you would have faced during your professional career here, because you've been in top companies for a while now. So just want to know, what would be that one thing that if somebody asks, if there is a problem, that one thing that you would point and say, yeah, this is an issue, what would that be?
I think uh, the product consistency, the experience consistency as a whole, I would say. So here it is not about design, it is not about tech. It's an outcome of design plus tech, where when you see a product, how consistent is that? So, and that brings both the teams together, where you need governance and utilizing different framework to do that governance. That has, because I'll give you one example maybe. Imagine Zoom, for example. This is a collaborative platform and people are using it. So I have also worked in one of the biggest collaborative platform in the world. Because of India we can't name it, but when we started working on it, and then now it is a very big product life cycle where it is getting built, and there are so many different teams working on it, on its different features. Now you need, all the teams need to align in a single direction in terms of consistency of the product. How
Right.
you want to do it, that is something which is one of the biggest challenges. So design need a certain consistency, tech need a certain consistency, management needs a certain consistency. There are different layer of consistencies which is needed, and there is something which as a hygiene the companies maintain, and that is one of the most difficult things they have to face.
Wow. I can understand. I think that stems from the fact that all of these different domains in any companies, they would have different protocols and different requirements in itself, is what I'm guessing. I think that should be one of the issues. So, which kind of leads me to the next question also, because so one of the things that you would have to concern yourself at some point is the security layer of the product that you build, right? Do you get to have a say in it, or would you leave it to somebody in the cybersec team?
So there are, so when we are in the longer run as a product designers, when we continuously design different products, we have a basic understanding of what should be the security layer, because we have to go through multiple trainings. But there is a concerned team after building that experience that goes through that cycle of the security team. They check the product, they do the security and quality check, and then that goes for release. So we
Wow.
don't have particularly a bigger say, or neither we want to get into that say, other than the basics which we already like while designing that experience. So the tech team, like the engineers as well as the designers, can understand the basic security things, yeah, like passwords and all those things, yeah, which are basic. But then after that there are internal layers which are taken care by the security team.
The security team. So now my other question in that line would be, so if there is such a conflict, let's say, between what the security team wants and what the designers, want the product to look like. And I'm guessing, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm guessing the company will actually rule in favor of the security team, right? Or would you guys, or how does it
Huh.
work if that happens? Like,
Generally, we, as a designer, we don't want something to look like something, but I would say we want something to behave like something.
right, right.
There is a slight difference in it. Now if
Yes.
I want something to behave like something, security team might come with the first option, where we give the first option. They can say that this is a security issue. Then we will try to figure out with the security team that complying by the security, how the behavior can be the same, or the experience can be the similar.
Okay. 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 Great. Great. So there is a sort of compliance that you make with the team and all of that. That is great. That
I
is
just
great
want
to
to
know.
add one more point. If you see like all the places where I have been like trying to give you answer, you'll find one
Right.
thing which is one of the most important in this whole industry is empathy and communication.
Ah,
These
yes.
two are the major chunks. Like if you can communicate with, so as a designer, if I can communicate with the engineer well, that what I am facing from my side, then only like that thing works properly. This is one of the biggest pillar.
I agree. I think communication is so underrated. I think people
Yeah,
don't give enough importance
very
to
much,
it.
very much.
We agree with you on that. Oh, wow. Great. Wonderful. So, okay, another question, right? So what part of your education, you hold a master's in design from IIT Hyderabad and a bachelor's in architecture from BIT Meshra, and you've done your schooling and all of that. So what part of that education has contributed or has always, is there something that you always keep going back to during your professional life? Something that
Mhm.
you've learned?
So I think I would say I was also lucky enough to do bachelor's in architecture, which
Hmm.
had actually made my logical understanding strong in terms of design and its basics. Uh, I
Hmm.
never thought that I will switch my field from architecture to something else. But if you see by history, world's one of the earliest design fields was architecture. So the basic was very clear when I started it, and then it also helped me to understand things spatially. So when you can't have a better example other than physical examples. If you see all the legends who talk about the problem solving, they generally will relate with the physical spaces, starting from Don Norman talking about the door problem to anything. So that actually is something which helped me even till now when I give examples to my juniors or anyone to mentor them how to understand a problem or systematic thinking. These
Hmm.
all things are something which I had carried from architecture, but at the same time masters actually helped me to understand, think deeper, the thinking process as a mature strategic thinker, and think on the ecosystem. That actually masters helped me. And to add on,
All right.
all
All right.
these two are like broader educational milestones. But I think in today's day, it's my daily habit to at least spend 1 hour in every alternate day to learn something new. Every
Wow.
look, I do it because of my own passion, but I have also realized this is something which is now we all need to do, is learn every day and unlearn the thing. This is a cycle which we all be doing.
Wow. So I remember from of courses that we used to run here. We used to have a course on technical architecture that we teach our BTech students over here, so that we start with design thinking, and we start by defining what a wicked problem is and all of that. And so I remember one of the points which we had discussed, and the problem with software as a design, or the design of software, is that it is not a physical product. I mean, so it is invisible. In other words, you can't really see it, right? I mean, of course, you can see that. That's about it. So so you just reminded me of that little point that came back again. So
I also want to add one point in this. So while I was working in TCS R&D, I was part
right.
of service design research team. So as part of that research, we also came to got to know that the product design, which we call this digital products, so-called digital products. Ideally, the definition of products is something physical, and
Yeah.
ideally, the definition of service is something which you cannot see. Now, this digital product is an intersection of this service and product. I always give this example: Zomato. Do you call it a product or a service? What is it?
Brilliant. I like that. I'm gonna use that.
Yes, and there is an internal layer to it. If the designers or MBA students are listening to it, that there is something which is called service design blueprint, where
Yes.
you lay out the whole services where you don't have control over it. Like if there is a Zomato delivery guy who is going to deliver things at your home, from taking it from restaurant and putting it to your home, how much time he is taking, whether he is driving slow or fast, how his behavior is, how his moods are, everything is out of control.
Which also prods me to ask, when it comes to, do you also get to interact with a lot of people from the business end, right? I mean, you will have to talk to clients, and you'll have to face people at the business end. So how much do you think that they should also understand the design thinking process that you guys go through? And do you think that it is as important for the business side also to understand what you guys do at a very deep level? Or how would you actually, because they're a very the job that they do in your organization may be very different from what you do. But then the understanding of the process, so how deep do you think you want your business team to know about the product? I mean, just that makes
That's a very interesting question, and I think this is also one of the struggling point which I have been trying to convince in last few years, that I feel. So if I define the basic problem, what everyone, even engineering team, design team, or my product management team, or the product owner team is trying to solve, everyone
right.
is trying to build a good product which can deliver good outcome and generate business.
Yeah.
Everyone is trying to do the same thing,
Correct.
from different angles.
Right.
Now I feel not only them should understand the business, but also from the tech and design should understand the business. But as a business stakeholder, they should understand design more, what they are understanding right now in terms of numbers. Because if you see all the successful startups, not only the startups, I will say the giants, Google, Microsoft, if you see their strategy have been in focusing on design. So it is an indirect outcome is business. You focus on the product, the business will get generated automatically. But
I see. Okay.
but the error, but the biggest problem what happens in general as a practice is people focus on numbers, and the experience is toned down because of that, and then it impacts business, and then again we revert back to the same thing, but after 2-3 cycles.
Okay. Wow. I asked you this question because I had never thought that so deep a knowledge of the process would be required by the people at the business end. But I think I also learn something every day. Yes, please continue.
Maybe one example I would again want to give, that what are the quantitative outcomes of design and what are the qualitative outcomes of business. So if you try to see this. The quantitative outcome of design is what is the task completion rate, how much task error rate is getting reduced, if I can reduce the number of clicks, which is related to this. So these are the things. And if you again see what are the product KPIs which you want to do, you want to increase the same thing, is just there is a number related to the same thing. If you
Right.
reduce the task completion rate, or if you even reduce the error rate in your system, then there is a service ticket which gets generated will get reduced. So you'll have less people who will be your customer care, then you will
Yes.
have less amount which is get generated. So you can always, by design, you can resolve things which is impacting business.
Okay. Okay. That intersection I had never seen. Thank you for opening me to that. I'll keep that in my mind. I never thought about it in that way, in fact. So I think I'll wind up with one last question. How much of photography do you still do?
When I decided that I will shift myself from photography to this one, I knew that it will reduce my photography. But luckily, my wife is into content creation right now. So I generally help her. So she is also someone whom I mentored, and now she's on her own. But I
Oh,
do it very often. But sugar architecture, that project helped me to see things on macro photography. I got that interest. I try to do with some Indian spices sometime, but very.
right.
I'm
Oh,
trying to
wow.
go back to that again, but yeah, I'll see.
Wow, that is one project which I would really look forward to seeing, I can imagine, how something like star anise or a couple of cloves would actually look so cool under, the macro level, and would definitely like to see that one day. So, ladies and gentlemen, and all of the other listeners over here, Anupam Sarkar, an old-time friend and design manager at IBM. So, great having you here, Anupam. So it
Same,
was
same to you.
wonderful having this conversation. I think I got a lot of perspective about how you would go about doing this. Very well explained. I really enjoyed it. And I hope our listeners also get to have the same say on it. I'll keep collecting responses from people who come across this, and we will definitely be in touch. Hope to see you soon.
Yes.
Um, Thank you for joining in. Much appreciated.
Thank you for inviting me. Thanks a lot.